Hello, good day. Welcome to Technology Solution Consultants, our series of webinars around exploring OnBase. We're excited to present to you today. Ms. Tess Van Hoff is going to be showing SAP factors and OnBase as an integration. We hope you enjoy the presentation, and we're going to turn it over to Tess, and then I'll come back on at the end to be able to talk about TSD and who we are and what we can offer. Tess, all you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jack, and thanks everybody for attending today, or if you're viewing the recording, thanks for taking the time to learn a little bit more about integrating OnBase and SAP. As you heard from Jack, my name is Tess Van Hoff. I am a technology evangelist with Highland, and my focus tends to be on OnBase integrations. So happy to be here to talk about what has been, truthfully, one of our longest standing partnerships and one of our oldest purpose-built integrations, which there I'm actually talking about our integration for SAP Archive Link. So as I said, OnBase really since the beginning was built to integrate, and what we've done is identified systems that are really popular where we've gone out and built purposefully integrations to exist between the two. And as I said, SAP was really one of the first that we identified. I think it's been almost 2 decades that we've been partnering with them, and since we've introduced our integration for SAP Archive Link, which allows us to surface up content that's stored in OnBase within those familiar SAP objects. From there, we still leveraging that SAP Archive Link platform, packaged together an AP automation solution. So that's a little bit newer within the past decade, but what that allows us to do is really automate and speed up the process of approving invoices within SAP by providing that supporting documentation within OnBase, as well as some process controls and different ways to manage those approvals. And then most recently, as a part of our partnership with SAP, we have introduced an integration for SAP SuccessFactors, which is their market-leading HCM product. And we're going to focus on that one a little bit closer to the end of our session here today. But I'm going to make sure that I touch upon all 3 of these integrations just to give you a flavor of the different ways that OnBase and SAP interact with one another. As I said, OnBase has always been built to integrate, and we really love partnering with organizations like SAP to be able to deliver on these types of benefits to our joint customers, really with an eye on speeding up processes and helping aid decision-making by providing to those end users all of the information that they need to make informed decisions from wherever they're most comfortable consuming that information. By pairing the two as well, you can ensure the data accuracy, the accuracy of the data that you're interacting with, that you're looking at, as well as the integrity by having it stored in one central repository backed by OnBase retention and governance processes. And finally, from an end user standpoint, we're really looking to create a better user experience. Again, by allowing folks to remain within the applications that they're most familiar with, where they want to do their work day to day, but by still surfacing up all of the information that they need to do their jobs in a really seamless manner. It's just going to make their lives easier, which of course has impacts across the organization and beyond. So from an agenda standpoint here today, in just about 30 minutes or less, we're going to take a look at those integrations for SAP Archive Link at that AP automation solution just briefly. And again, really focus in on our new integration for SAP SuccessFactors and share with you a little bit more even of what that platform is all about. But for starters, we're going to dig in here and take a look at that integration for SAP Archive Link. So documents in OnBase and business objects in SAP are linked via this Archive Link content repository. That means that documents are approved and processed using really either OnBase workflow or from within your SAP system. And then users can easily retrieve the linked documents from the familiar SAP interface or really any of the OnBase clients. And this, of course, increases document visibility for users by providing access to those important documents, again, regardless of the physical location. It also reduces costs by automating tasks. So this could be the auto creation of SAP business objects, auto indexing, and linking supporting documents to those objects, and really allows you to link really virtually any type of unstructured data, including documents, forms, or photos to the related SAP business objects, and maintain that one central repository that stores all incoming and outgoing SAP generated documents within OnBase. So our proven and really mature SAP certified solutions they're IT configurable, they're out of the box, and they minimize custom integration costs. So let's take a quick look at how you can access OnBase documents from an SAP object. So here we are looking at an invoice, and this is also a piece of that AP automation solution that I'm going to share with you here in just a second. But effectively from here, we can access an attachment list. And what this is going to pull up for us is that invoice document that is stored within OnBase. And for those OnBase users out there, we know by right-clicking on this document, now we have a right-click menu that allows us access to, keywords. We can see the revisions. We can see the history of this document. We can also access cross-references. So from here, I'm able to pull up, the packing slip as well, the purchase order, the requisition, again, providing all of that information that's needed right from those familiar SAP screens. And this data is continually validated between the two. And as we ingest invoices or whatever that document might be into OnBase, we could have these objects within SAP automatically created. The indexing is happening automatically. So we're removing those those repetitive manual tasks and automating them, saving time and money. So this is that initial integration that we had with their Archive Link content repository platform. And we leveraged Archive Link as a component of our newer AP automation solution, which is what we're going to take a look at here just briefly next. As far as some key features, and I'll try to highlight these as we take a look at some screenshots of the solution here in a moment, but you're able to capture invoice data, and with that integrated validation against the SAP records or those objects that are stored within SAP, you'll see there's flexible exception handling, which allows customization to meet your organization's needs. So if you want to manage that exception handling within SAP, you could do that. If you want to manage it within OnBase workflow, you can do that. So you have options there, but either way, it's going to be seamless for you. You can also really arm yourself with the data that you need provided by SAP by viewing those conditional types. That there's a table there that's accessible within OnBase. So as you're doing the PO line processing, all the information that you need is front and center. And then there's that automatic synchronization between OnBase and SAP again. So we're making sure that the data is accurate in both places. So you can really trust what you're looking at. And then, as I mentioned before, as we segued into this section, this does utilize Archive Link to retrieve OnBase documents within SAP. So all the info is right there at your fingertips. So the process, it happens in both SAP and in OnBase. So I wanted to show just this graphical example here and talk us through what the process looks like. And I'll sprinkle in some screenshots so you get a sense for what's really happening here. And for those of you who are familiar with both OnBase and SAP, this will really come together for you because you're going to hear some terminology within both systems. But in any case, the first step in this process, in this AP automation process, is to capture your content, your documents. And it doesn't matter how those documents come into the system. It could be scanned paper, it could be an electronic document, something from an email. But ultimately, we start by bringing the invoices and other supporting content into OnBase, which is going to serve as that one single repository, that single system for your content. And that happens within that first scan and import step. And as we import them, I mentioned that we're automating some tasks that would otherwise be manual, and that includes the indexing of that document. So we're automating the process of lifting information from the invoice to then use for indexing. So you can see in that second step there where it says index and classify, one of the options is using Brainware Intelligent Automation to assign keywords to the documents and classify them so we know what we're looking at and we know how to manage it. Because obviously we're going to manage an invoice differently than a packing slip and so on. So Brainware for invoices is, I'm going to show you a couple of screenshots here in a second. It's multi-tenanted. It's an out-of-the-box accounts payable solution that automates data entry for invoices and credit notes. And it's really optimized to capture invoice information, such as invoice number, purchase order number, dates, amounts, all of the stuff that's going to be really relevant and that you would want to capture potentially as keywords from that document. It's going to pull over line items automatically and then make this data available to use within SAP, right? Brainware for invoices, it also includes processes for PO line pairing, value-added tax compliance checking, automatic assignment of, SAP system tax codes to invoice line items and information like that. So it's really optimized for this type of indexing and classification. So I'm going to show you an example here. This is the Brainware verifier. So we've got an invoice over there on the right, and there's not a template associated with this. It's very intelligent. It uses OCR technology to pull over those keywords and populate this information that would then populate an SAP object in this case. So you can see everything over there on the left-hand side is green. So it's valid, it's correct, and this is ready in many cases just to be processed for payment. Now you can also manage some exceptions here as well. So in this second screen that I'm showing, we actually are throwing an exception for the vendor number. And as I'm the person who's actually processing this, and taking a look, I'm able to indicate here, what the reason is for why this is invalid. And in this case, it's that the vendor's not found. So there is a really simple way to manage exceptions within Brainware, but it's got really remarkable accuracy as far as how it reads and classifies and indexes these incoming documents. And again, that was within that index and classify step. Now the next step here, we'll actually head to the bottom portion over of the screen where we're really working in SAP at this point, but it's actually kind of on both sides, because here's where we're talking about exchanging data. And that means that OnBase and SAP are talking back and forth to validate that the information is correct in both places and within the workview screens that we're creating in OnBase to capture that data. And we're going to see some screenshots of those workview screens here in just a second. But effectively, throughout the process, information is being validated against the SAP objects and expanded from SAP. So this can really help expedite the capture process, right? When values in those SAP objects line up with what we're capturing, then the invoice can be sent directly for payment, kind of like what we saw on that initial Brainware screen. Of course, when there's an exception, then whoever's handling that can use live lookups in SAP to make sure that the data is clean and correct. And again, you can choose where to handle this. So that process and manage step, which comes next from exchange data, that lives up in the OnBase half of the screen, because we can use OnBase workflow to process and manage those exceptions. But we can also do that within SAP if that is the preference. And then finally, down at the bottom, we've got the retrieve step. And that's like what we saw earlier using archive link, right? So that means that the document, though it's being stored and managed in OnBase, can be pulled up, as we saw, right from that SAP object, right from those familiar SAP screens. So I'm just going to walk through, again, a couple screenshots that highlight the second portion of this process. So here we are looking at a non-PO invoice in OnBase Workview. So this is what's created to capture and validate that data. And you can see sort of in the upper left-hand corner, we've got some vendor details. So we've captured the vendor as Highland 01, and then it populates additional data, including the vendor name, address, payment terms, that kind of stuff. So this ensures, of course, that the correct detail is there for people who are interacting with this screen, but the information is protected. So it's not going to be changed from this screen. We're just ensuring that we have the appropriate information. And then the other thing I want to point out on this screen, if we jump down to the bottom portion of the workview screen, we've got the invoice line items kind of called out there. So you can pop out those line items and take a look at those. And all the same validations happening in SAP are happening here within this workview screen. So next I'm going to jump to, in this case, a PO invoice screen. And you can see the PO line items are already populated for us there at the bottom portion of the screen. And you can also see that blue show errors button just above it. So this is helpful when it comes to error handling on the PO lines that are associated with this invoice. The other thing I want to point out, like a little laser pointer here, where we've got voucher number, I don't know if you can see my mouse, there kind of near the upper right-hand corner, that indicates to us that this is created in SAP. So we're going to have the ability to pull this up via archive link from that SAP object. It also means that as you're keying in information, it's being validated again. So it's being checked against SAP using that voucher number to make sure that the data is clean as it makes its way into SAP. So let's actually jump into one of those line items here. And you can see this just opens up another screen, but at the bottom of the screen, you've got the distribution section. So for this line item, it's showing the GL distribution for that specific PO line. And you can see, of course, where the money is coming from, within the business in order to pay that invoice. And then on the next screen, we're taking a look at the conditional types table. So a little bit further down for that line item, we're able to display the conditional types that are captured in SAP. So again, just putting even more information right in front of users here in OnBase, saving them the time to have to go to SAP to look it up. So it's all there and it's all being validated between the two systems. And then again, once everything's set and that information gets populated within that SAP object, and using archive link, we can pull up that attachments list and actually get back to the document itself that is housed within OnBase with all the right-click menu functionality available there to you to really be able to dig into this further. So hopefully that gives you kind of the high level overview. From a benefit standpoint, ultimately, we're really looking just to speed up the payment process. We're automatically validating invoices with SAP data and posting those for payment just as quickly as possible, speeding up those processes. We're also reducing the manual indexing by using that intelligent extraction to efficiently gather data straight from those AP documents. And that's also going to help us improve process controls and tracking. We're going to have well-defined approval hierarchies and really that complete history of approvals and approval delegations for each invoice. And as we said earlier, we're increasing the visibility to all of the relevant information because we're providing those links to the AP documents directly from SAP screens, using SAP Archive Link. So we've got Archive Link to really connect the two systems. We've got a nice packaged AP automation solution to speed up the payment process, speed up those approvals. And this is something that we're going to continue to invest in and we can continue to improve. In fact, just with our most recent, as of last year, major OnBase release, which was Foundation 22.1, we were making some enhancements to our AP automation, and that had to do with some EMEA-specific tax and GL coding needs. So these enhancements include being able to capture required VAT codes at the line level and then pass that information through to SAP. We're also able to capture and validate the value-added tax registration and bill to data information from the invoice. And then you're also, within these enhancements, able to process invoices with a mix of both PO and non-PO based line items, which just in essence increases your flexibility to work with a broader supplier base. So with these global enhancements, our customers, our global customers who are doing business within EMEA or based within EMEA will be able to reduce their regulatory risk and really ensure compliance with those EMEA tax regulations. Hopefully increasing flexibility, like we said, and the ability to work with a broader supplier base. So just a few screenshots of those enhancements. Here are the registration and tax codes being captured. You can see the registration number on that screen as well as the tax codes, and we can actually drill into that a little bit more to see the tax code descriptions, so you can be assured that you're selecting the correct one by being able to readily access those descriptions. And then finally here we have the GL coding for a PO on invoice that could include non-PO invoice line items as well. So I know that was a very quick description of some of those existing integrations, but I do want to assure you that we've got some resources available if you're interested out on Highland Community. There's a product page called Integrations for SAP Archive Link, and then linked from there is a product overview for the AP automation solution as well. So really great information out there and a good place to start to get additional questions answered. And then at this point, with our remaining time, I want to make sure to focus in on our new integration, which is our integration for SAP SuccessFactors. So for those of you maybe not as familiar with SuccessFactors, this is SAP's market-leading human capital management, or HCM suite. So it provides cloud-based applications that support really run the gamut of the HR functions. So core HR and payroll, talent management, HR analytics, workforce planning, employee experience management, and the like. I think it's been a part of their product portfolio for about 10 years now. So separate platform from the traditional ERP, but that is a little bit about SAP SuccessFactors. And in their own words, in SAP's own words, the purpose of SAP SuccessFactors is really to help people feel connected, empowered, and supported through every step of the employee journey. And I think, I used to work in human resources, and I can tell you, in order to make that a reality, employees and human resources in particular, need to be equipped with the tools that support them pretty effortlessly. Because we want to take, a lot of the manual stuff out of the hands of HR employees so that they can really focus on being more responsive to the needs of their constituents, which is, of course, the employees of their organization, and really deliver on that more optimal employee experience. And that's really a focus right now, delivering that optimal employee experience, especially from a digital standpoint. But even with that focus, we know there are still roadblocks that could be standing in the way from an HR standpoint. For instance, if portions of an organization's HR processes are still manual or still paper-based, that can cause really slow and disconnected processes. Additionally, if you're managing things across disparate systems, that can lead to content silos, which then makes it even more difficult to access and view all of the content when and where it's needed. And if organizations are still relying on file share or paper-based employee records, well, as you can imagine, that can present some pretty significant security and privacy gaps. And then finally, HCMs and SAP SuccessFactors is really not necessarily an exception here, tend to lack those comprehensive content services features that are necessary to handle all the varying and unstructured content types that can make up an employee file, which is really, of course, where OnBase thrives. And let's face it, when it comes to an employee, throughout the life cycle of their employment, there is a lot of critical unstructured content that is required. So by storing this employee-centric content within OnBase, it becomes easily accessible to those who need it. And in doing so, we're able to accelerate HR processes, ensure that compliant and secure storage by having one central repository backed by OnBase retention and governance processes. You're able to enhance that employee experience and really enhance their productivity because you're providing a complete view of an employee's documents right alongside their record within SuccessFactors. And, by allowing users to effectively perform all of those HR file management functions directly within SAP SuccessFactors, you can expect to maximize that investment and the business value that SAP SuccessFactors has to your organization. So at a high level, from a features standpoint, it all really begins in SAP SuccessFactors, and you'll have a seamless SSO experience that then gives you access to this modern and intuitive OnBase web application, which from there you can retrieve, capture documents, execute workflow ad hoc tasks, and even see documents that have been flagged as missing for that record and follow up on them right from there. And those are really the primary features here. You heard me say, view, manage, capture the documents right from SAP SuccessFactors screens, the automatic flagging of missing documents, the ad hoc workflow tasks. It also presents you with a personalized dashboard that displays the documents and the relevant metadata or keywords, to use OnBase speak. I mentioned the seamless SSO experience for login, the single sign-on experience for login. So from an end user standpoint, they're probably not even aware that they're actually accessing this OnBase application. For all that they know, they're still within SAP SuccessFactors. And thanks to that bi-directional API level integration, again, we can really guarantee the accuracy and the validity of the information that you're looking at. So at this point, instead of some more screenshots, I thought it'd be nice to show you a little demo video, and I'll just speak to what we're seeing as it plays out here on the screen. But before I press go, just a little bit of background information. So right here, what we're seeing is an employee, Dorian Gray, and we're actually on his record within SAP SuccessFactors. So something I want you to keep in mind as we step through this demo and kind of look at these different screens, we could be stepping through this as Dorian himself. taking some actions on these documents, or, this could be somebody within human resources or a manager who has the appropriate rights within OnBase to Dorian's content. So just wanted you to keep that in mind. But let's go ahead and take a look at this brand new integration. So we're on Dorian's record. We've got a simple menu option here that says view documents. And then this is the dashboard that I was talking about. So this can be customized based on what you want to be able to see. You can see some metadata there. You've got the option to upload documents, or I clicked on a link here to view documents. So this is pulling up a nice clean list of what's available from Dorian's record. And when I click on one, for example, the W4 in this case, it shows me the document there in the middle. And then over on the right-hand side, we have a list of keywords. Scrolling a little bit more further down that list, we are alerted to a couple of items that are missing. So we're missing a tuition reimbursement form for Dorian, and we want to remedy that now. So you can see me actually just dragging and dropping it right on the screen and clicking upload, verifying some keywords, and then it is immediately available, not just from this list of documents, but also captured and securely stored within OnBase. And then I've got those ad hoc tasks up top. So I can send that document for review, and that could trigger an OnBase workflow that then prompts somebody to review that document and approve it. I've got some archive options, the ability to flag stuff, again, based on ad hoc tasks that would be configured within your OnBase system. So you've got that optional workflow interaction there as well. But this is it. I mean, it's simple, it's seamless, it's powerful. It certainly improves the agility of employees or those HR professionals who want to be able to just access the information that they need when and where they need it, allowing them to be closer to their employees, helping build relationships and trust, and really, I think, aiding and leading to a better overall employee experience. So with the last few minutes that we have here, I'll wrap up, but I just wanted to provide a little bit more background information on this brand new integration. This is version 1.0.0 of the OnBase integration for SAP SuccessFactors. And I mention that simply because there's plenty more to come. So we wanted to get the most important features out here with the first release, but know that we're excited to continue to invest in this product and introduce new features as they're available. So that's the license component, is that OnBase integration for SAP SuccessFactors, and then optionally OnBase workflow if you want the workflow interaction there. It's supported on-prem or in the Highland Cloud. And from an OnBase version standpoint, I've got it listed there as 21.1, but that's just a later EP5 version. So this was introduced with OnBase Foundation 22.1 last year, but it does go back to some of those later EP5 versions from a compatibility standpoint. And then it also requires Highland IDP and the API server as well. Not unlike the other solution that we saw, we do have a product page for the integration for SAP SuccessFactors that will have even the demo video that I shared, some overview information, the product overview, and other resources like that, which could be really handy as you're trying to learn a little bit more about this offering. But hopefully here we'll have a couple minutes for questions. Before we get to that though, Jack, I'm going to invite you back on because I think you've got a couple of slides here to discuss before we wrap up.
Okay. Do you want me to go through these slides, or want to ask for any questions first?
Yeah, let's go through the slides, and then we'll see what questions we've got.
Outstanding. Okay. Well, just a little plug for our OnBase Managed Services practice. A lot of times organizations have invested heavily in OnBase, but they don't have a dedicated resource to do the day-to-day maintenance and weekly and monthly kind of maintenance things that need to be done with OnBase. So we are offering those as a service so that we can help out. You don't have to be a specialist or a guru, as we like to call ourselves in OnBase. We take that on for you. If you're interested, we'd love to talk to you about that and help you understand what we can bring to the table. And with that, we'd like to talk to you a little bit about our reach for OnBase as we go out and learn more about exploring OnBase with other technologies and see how you can expand your OnBase solution. Our next webinar will be on Cloud OCR and OnBase and how those work together, in addition to OnBase and case management coming up. These will be very important to have you see and learn how to leverage your OnBase experience. And with that, Jack Pompey, do you have any questions for Tess that came in?
Hi, thank you, Jack. Yes, actually, it looks like we did have a few questions that came in. First of all, Tess, is there a specific version of SAP that a user has to be on for the SAP integration?
That's a great question. I know, this was just released last year, so it would be one of the more recent versions of SuccessFactors. But I think it has a lot more to do with browser compatibility with it, which any of the latest versions of your preferred internet browser should be fine. But we can get more specific information on that.
Oh, absolutely. And then second of all, is there a specific version of OnBase that's required?
Yes. So like I said, it was released with OnBase Foundation 22.1 last year, but it does go back to OnBase Foundation EP5 from a compatibility standpoint. So those are both good. So another reason to upgrade if you need to.
And then Tess, lastly, does the integration work with the Highland Cloud and Highland OnBase on-prem?
Yes, it does.
Okay, outstanding. Thank you, Tess.
My pleasure. Well, I want to thank everybody for your time today. And if you know anyone in your organization that wasn't able to catch the live version, this is being recorded and will be available on the TSC YouTube channel. So please check it out.
Excellent. Thank you, Tess, so much. And for those of you that are listening to this, if you have other topics you would like to learn about, how OnBase can integrate with other platforms or just more topics around OnBase itself, please feel free to reach out. We would welcome those topics. With that, we will wrap up. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.
Thanks so much.